Welcome to Mount Bajerski YouTube channel. Question asked here, quite a few actually, but the one that intrigued me most, one that kind of got me going the most, and bringing back memories as well, was could you name the top 3 crystals for extraterrestrial contact? Terrestrial. I think that's a brilliant question, and part of my process of awakening, opening, was definitely those moments when you realize that this isn't an earthly experience that you're going through, what you're feeling, what's happening right now. It feels different. It feels different, much different. So yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about that, shall we? Let's talk about that. So what you're asking me to do is give you 3, because we could go on. I could probably choose about 7 or 8, but I think the top 3 crystals that I've ever worked with as a healer, doing rituals all over the world, outside as well as inside, going to places where I'm unexpectedly in a situation with spirit. I think spirit as well, this is something we need to talk about. The spiritual experience is very close in energetic frequency to the extraterrestrial experience. And maybe that's because our understanding of those two energies are so different from what we're used to. It's kind of, for me, there is, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I think there is something very, very similar to those energies. But anyway, let me give you my top 3 crystals. I'm waffling on too much here, but I've got so much coming in now that I'm trying to remember and pulling forward things that are coming to me. So, okay, number 3. I would say my 3rd most powerful crystal I've ever used and experienced the extraterrestrial energy is a crystal that I haven't used that much, but when I did, it blew me away. And that is called Mount Shasta. And that is a crystal from America. And it's from a place which is of extraordinary energy. I've looked into it, researched it, but my most interesting moments is when I'm sat without anybody telling me about the crystal, so I can attune to that and see what happens. Mount Shasta energy in that crystal, which is an opal, I believe, well, part opal. There's a lot of mother stone in there as well. The frequency that it gives off, it changes your frequency, it heightens your vibration, and it somehow connects you to the energy of not of this world. So, like I said, when I say not of this world, it can be extraterrestrial, it can be spiritual. What dimension do we stop and say that's it? My understanding of life is that we know nothing. Our vision is 0.0000 of what we should be able to see, but we can't because we're closed. So there's so much more that we know nothing about. So we can't really say that's it or this is as much. But I have seen some amazing things happen with Mount Shasta when I'm wearing it. The energy of that crystal when you are doing deep meditation work outside is phenomenal. And there's been at least 3 encounters for me that I have experienced something that was so unexplainable that it blew me away. One day I'll share some of those stories with you, but for now, I would say that is number 3 on my list. Do I have any on my website? I absolutely have no idea. Probably none left because it sells so quickly. I struggle to get it, so I've been asking for it now, 2 or 3 months. Can't get it. So I'm trying, but it is a great crystal. I have had amazing feedback from that crystal. Amazing feedback from people who bought it from a crystal store or from myself, and they've said that they've encountered some pretty awesome energy. When I was doing healing work, one encounter when I was doing the healing work, try and recall, it was a guy who was round about 45, 46 years old. Strange man who came for a reading, and he understood Mount Shasta, and he worked with it and told me many times it's of extraterrestrial energy and you can definitely attune to it. I've often shared this with I can't remember. Stephen Greer. Somebody asked me to be part of Stephen Greer's circle. CCE or CB5. It's the Close Encounters 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 5 is actually attuning to spirit, extraterrestrial, and connect and contact with them, to talk to them. I don't really believe in clubs. You don't need a club, you don't need a boss, you don't need a guide, you just do it yourself. You are as entitled to connect to extraterrestrial beings as anybody else. So you just have to get outside and do the work. And it's as simple as meditating and talking. You're talking to somebody. It's just like you're using a telephone or a loudspeaker, but it's in a different frequency. Mount Shasta is an amazing crystal for that. So if you are to go out and start doing this kind of work, then take a piece. It's phenomenal. Plus, if you're doing the spiritual work, if you're a healer, if you're a psychic, if you're a practitioner, it's a fantastic crystal to help awaken your senses. So moving on to that, number 2, my second favorite crystal for extraterrestrial contact and energy is a crystal called Tsesit. Now, what I know about this crystal is probably not a lot, but when I first felt it, it was put into my hand. When I first felt it, it was like, it's a meteorite, because it kind of feels like metal. But then it didn't feel like an extraterrestrial energy to me. It felt more like something really powerful on this earth. It felt like it was from here, but I wasn't sure, and I'm still not sure. I haven't studied it. I don't know. All I know is it's from Africa, and I think it's Namibia. Now I can never say it. Namibia, but it's African, and I can't remember when I spoke to one guy who was telling me a little bit about it and said it's Mother Nature, Mother's Earth heating up the minerals that has caused this, which I found fascinating because, wow, it heats up to a metal. It's incredible. Anyway, that crystal to me is a talisman for extraterrestrial energy. I remember when I first had this piece, what really stuck out to me like Mount Shasta, it opens you up and you hear something new. My senses, all my senses, like I can hear things that I didn't hear before. I can feel things like I didn't feel before. I can see things that I didn't see before. I was wearing a piece of this with the other crystal that I'm going to talk about, the number 1 crystal. And in my healing room, I witnessed extraterrestrial energy come through. And it was incredible. Whether that was angelic energy, whether it was an energy, it was an unknown energy. So that was phenomenal. I think with Tsesit, I think my main time that I spent with it that really made me realize this is a very unusual and very connecting crystal is when I was in Ibiza, and I'm not so sure if I've spoken about this before. Maybe I did, but anyway, there's a rock which is of extraterrestrial energy, in my opinion. Ibiza is an island which is beautiful, but it also holds a rock which looks so not where it should be. It's like that. And when you approach this rock and all of a sudden you drive and it's there, it's like, that is weird. That is weird. And the energy is weird. It's just weird. And everything happened to me there was weird, especially on them 3 or 4 days. So Esvedra is an energetic frequency that I believe is the same frequency similar to the 3 crystals that I talk about. Yeah, I can't really say more than when you wear it, it can bring forward very unusual happenings that kind of send you all over the place. And for me, when I went to Ibiza, and it was the time that somebody, I think I got gifted this, I had it around my neck and weird things were happening, and it's like I couldn't cope. And you know, you might say to yourself, but you're a healer, Mark. No, it's a different energy of working on healing people's energy. So that was really bizarre. And I meditated a few times. I did some, on many occasions, outdoors, I do flower ceremonies or blessings on a shamanic level. And there were many a time, not just there, but here as well. Even with Mount Shasta, when I was down, where was I now? It wasn't far away from here. It might have been Ronda, and that's in Spain. Ronda, not Wales. I was doing a ritual outside on a most very, very beautiful balcony. The house was, I think, 30 million euros. And I was doing it on the balcony outside, and it was a peaceful, quiet night, pitch black, just my candles. And as I was doing it, I looked up and there were lights coming, boom, like they do, and then gone. So it's almost like they appear and then disappear. It's like they vibrate out, and that brings a smile to my face, because if you're wearing it and you create a circle, this is just a hint or a tip for you to do. Always create a circle when you're trying to connect to extraterrestrial energy. But there's something about a circle nobody can explain, but if you create a circle, it brings in a great power. If you're in that circle or you're within the circle, so if you're all sat round in a circle, it creates an amazing energy. And how I saw it, I mean, I could go off on one here, but your energy connected to somebody else's energy, create the circle. But if you create a circle with flowers, with rice, with crystals, and you sit in that circle and the intention draws that energy up, I promise you, in time, you will connect to something and you'll see something and you'll feel something. Whether they come and talk to you is another thing, and that connection is something that leads me on to the next crystal, which I believe is the most powerful crystal in this universe to connect, the most powerful talisman, because it's not a crystal, to connect you to extraterrestrial experience, and that is Moldavite. You all knew that anyway. Without a doubt, Moldavite changes the frequency of you. It changes you. It can mess you up. It can throw you upside down. It can make you cry. It can make you laugh. It can make you feel all sorts of different energy frequencies. And that's because it is not of this world. It is a meteorite, and it's come here with a specific frequency, which I believe is part of the awakening of humanity. And this is why I've always said to people, if every single human being on this planet held a piece of Moldavite, the world would change in a day, because they'd realise that they've been stuffed by a dark entity that's trying to overcome everybody and enslave them. Now, Moldavite. What have I seen with Moldavite that's really made me believe and understand that it's the most powerful? There is an extraterrestrial conversation that takes place with Moldavite when placed on a client's throat, third eye, or even sometimes just held in their hand. That I have personally witnessed many times. The conversation is not of any that I know of this tongue on this planet Earth. It is an unusual frequency. It precedes, or should I say, the precursor to it coming out of a client is a kind of breathing that I've never seen before. So I think that there's something in the breath, and I think that the Wim Hofs, the shamans, when they breathe, there's something in the breathing. So if you join the dots, and that's what we have to do, you'll see that the hard breathing accompanies something extraterrestrial or something of a connection. So it heightens your well, first of all, it's going to give you more oxygen. Oxygen heals you and strengthens you instantly. So if you breathe deep in and out every day, you will strengthen your whole body. So that makes sense. So if a Moldavite helps you breathe this way naturally without you even knowing, and the reason why I say that, I'm taking a breath, is because they are asleep when it happens. So they have no conscious understanding of why they start going into this very deep. That's what they do. This is how it, seriously, I kid you not, I have seen this happen as a healer over the years I've done it. And I've seen it on many occasions now. That then accompanies this connection to a conversation. Where that conversation is coming from, who is that conversation to, is a topic for another conversation at a later date. At the same time as being in a room with a lady who was going through a terrible situation, her daughter was lying on a bed, and I wrote about this in a book. 3 beautiful but very unusual orbs of light appeared at her feet. 3 orbs. I opened my eyes, I saw it. I turned to my client who was sat down waiting for her daughter to have the healing session. Her eyes were closed and her hand was literally up, pointing at the 3 orbs, and her eyes were closed and her head was down. It was the most freaky, I tell you, weird. All I can tell you is when I do this work and we start to go into this weird place, this weird sensation, when I have done readings for people that do not feel in any shape or form human, when I try and connect, it's weird. The only word, the expression I can say is weird, because weird to me means I don't understand it. I don't really know what the sensation is. I don't know what the energy is. I don't know what to think about this. I don't know what to feel about it. It's overwhelming. It's too much. Weird. It's just weird. I have been in the company of, I believe, at least 1+ beings that would look like a human. I've written about it in one of my books, but there was nothing to indicate that they were human at all. The energy, their memory, their trauma, their family, their illness or disease, nothing. Weird. Just weird. I have meditated for the past, 15, 20 years. 15 of those years at least with Moldavite, or 13, 14 maybe. I don't count anymore. But I experienced something that I've never experienced in my life, other than the fact that your energy changes so dramatically with Moldavite when you start to connect with it. So sometimes it's an instant connector. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Sometimes it can take weeks, and sometimes for some people they don't get nothing from it. But that doesn't make the crystal wrong or not right. It could be a fake, but if you have a genuine Moldavite, I guess what I'm saying is, so I'm going to finish up on this. There was a beautiful man in Ibiza who had a shop, and there was a crystal in that shop which was a Moldavite. He had 2 shelves of Moldavite, And I was doing better now. So it was been a few years that had gone by, and now I was charging 120 euros for a session. So now I was making enough money to be able to look at a piece of Moldavite and say, you know what, after paying my bills, flights, accommodation, and all that, I think I might be able to afford that. At that time, which was years ago, there was one particular crystal that he had in his cabinet that I was drawn to. All the Moldavites were beautiful, but one was calling out. And I asked him, I said, what is that? Is that a Moldavite? He said, it is. He said, it's called hedgehog. I said, how do you wear it? It looks a bit prickly. He says, that's the whole point. And I said, what's the whole point? He says, they're all PowerPoints. And I said, yeah, they are. They're like my wands. He says, exactly, Mark. PowerPoints. He said, so they work in extraordinary ways. Makes them very different. And I said, at that time it was about this size, and it was very thin. It was like a slice. It only weighed a few grams, but it was longish. It was like that. And it was I think it was about 900 euros. And I appreciated it totally. And now, if there was another crystal at the side of it, which was 150, and it was a Moldavite, and it felt the same, it wouldn't have been the money. That's the one that I want. It was never about the money, but this was 900, so it was about the money. And I'm thinking, oh, it's a lot of money. And I said, but I'm so pulled to it. You know, why is it? And as we all do, why is it I always want the best, the most expensive one? And he said, look, Mark, this is a rare piece. It's dug from a place called Bajerski, and I always get it wrong when I say it, but he was very knowledgeable too about Moldavite, and he was telling me one story or another. And I said, is there any way I can get that mounted? And he says, I'll mount it for you. And I said, how will you do it? I says, I don't want leather. He says, I'll mount it on silver. So this was mounted on silver then, and I took it away with me. And I think from that moment on, I was getting some serious connection of not of this world energy. So my heightened energy to my meditation was phenomenal. I was seeing things that I was predicting for my client who was just about to walk through the door that afternoon or that morning or even the following day. Before they even sat down, I'd meditated, and I actually did some writing down, and I just put it on top of the table and said, this is what I got for you yesterday. And they'd start crying and say, I can't believe you know why I'm here. And I said, yeah. So I was getting some good hits. It was like I was connecting to my clients before I even met them and saw them, right? I might have the first name, didn't know who they were, but I could feel the connection. Then when I was meditating, I was getting some great downloads of information which were helping me towards writing some amazing messages which were for the simplistic people of the world like me. I'm simple. I don't feed me complicated BS. Don't give me the 3 Bs. Don't baffle me with bullshit. I'm not interested. Just tell me simplistic, and does it feel right? So I was writing stuff which was profound at that time when I got this piece. I was also doing some amazing healing work that was blowing me away. That crystal held by people who were grown men, scientists, CEOs, I asked them to hold it or place it on their third eye or on their throat or on their heart or on their stomach. That Moldavite, that piece of Moldavite it was almost like it was working on behalf of me, so I didn't need to do as much work. However, when I was holding it in my hand, I could sense things more than what it would have taken me an hour to sense. So I was picking these things up. Also, when I was going to my tree, I was sensing things, feeling things. I was writing things down that I never wrote down before. I went meditating one day with this particular piece of Moldavite. And I went up to the mountains and I sat down, and I kid you not, I think I wrote about, I did. I wrote about this. Did I write about it? Or was it blogged? I can't remember. But I'm sat there, and all of a sudden, right, I see a little flower. And it's like I became the flower. I heard a bee. And the bee was nowhere near. It was like way, way over there. And all of a sudden, the flower was calling to the bee. I could smell the flower was spurting. It came alive and started dancing for the bee. It was, come over here, I've got something for you. And it was vibrating. The bee noticed this and turned and came straight to the flower. And then there was a connection between the bee and the flower. I can't explain, because there are no words to the feeling that I felt. But what I'm saying is, with Moldavite, it heightened my awareness and my understanding to life. I have felt things, seen things, and been with people and been outside into Mother Earth at night and experienced that connection and felt the download, received downloads of stuff that was so profound that when people said, how do you know that? And I'll say, it's channeled. So it is an extraterrestrial energy. Moldavite is, and it helps you become heightened to the low vibration that we all are most of the time, because of what we're being told we're not good enough. Excuse me. So they're my three most powerful crystals to connect with extraterrestrial energy through my experience, my knowledge, and my clients, what they got out. So Mount Shasta, Tsesit, and Moldavite, or any Moldavite, small piece, big piece, but for me, the Bajerski hedgehog has got to be the most profound crystal through my experiences when I'm wearing it. Okay, wow, I'm wearing the Bajerski, brilliant. However, there's been many a times that I've worn Moldavite and I still get great experiences. So all Moldavite is fantastic. So I hope this short and sweet 30-minute workshop on crystals serves you well. Please support your local crystal store firstly. And if they don't have any, check out markbajerski.com. Tsesit, I've been working on, I've got a few Moldavites on my website, so there's still some Moldavites there. Mount Shasta, I don't honestly know if I've got any left. I haven't been able to get any, so cross your fingers that I might be able to get some in another couple of 3 months. And Tsesit, I have like about 10 pieces, 15 pieces, something like that. I'm going to check out in my drawers if I've got any left there, and because I've made this video, I'll try and put some on the website shortly. So if it says there's none on the website, just keep an eye out, because I'm sure I'll put some up at some point and get the girls to help me there as soon as possible. Hope this serves you well. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and for goodness sake, don't buy fake Moldavite. It's all over the place. Take care.